So, good evening, everyone, and good evening, Rick. How are you?
Hello, everyone.
Sunny LA?
You want my name?
Are you in sunny LA?
Yes, I'm in LA.
Nice.
Still in LA, yes.
So, yes, Rick is an award-winning stuntman, stunt coordinator, actor, director, author, photographer, helicopter pilot, aerial coordinator. And the
Oh,
only thing
my.
not on there is singer.
I
Do you
used to
sing,
sing
sir?
when I was younger.
Very nice. Right, I'm going to show a few scenes of Rick's, over 700 feature films, television, commercials, and
Yeah,
then we'll start
yeah,
seeing some of the
busy
stuff he's done.
times.
Strap in.
You wanna fuck with me?
Nice beginner tour here.
Coming right up on his butt.
Hold it right there! I surrender!
Oh boy.
Hold it right there!
Look back.
Well, bloody
Wow.
hell.
Yeah, I like your edited version. That was nice. Good job.
Thank you. Yeah. Because was it a Dr. Dre video at the beginning?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I got uploaded that just to check it, and then because it's copyrighted, and then the music you used at the end, so I just had to trim around some of it. But yeah, it's still some of that's got to hurt.
Go ahead.
Okay, so this all started because of this film, Cannonball Run 2.
Okay.
We're watching this, and I like to go through the stunts to see who's on it and the names I recognize. And I looked yours up, and then I saw your credits, so I thought this is the perfect guy to speak to about all his work.
Yeah. I
Now,
did a
you
lot of
appeared
work
in
on
two
that
scenes
movie.
in that clip.
I'm sorry?
You appeared in two scenes in that just short clip we saw, both fighting Jackie Chan.
Oh yeah, I did a lot of work besides that on that movie. I doubled Joe Theismann driving the Monkey Mobile. I doubled Dom DeLuise driving the Captain Chaos car. I drove the Ferrari with Hal Needham screaming at me from the helicopter above to go faster. Even though the seats weren't locked up, I was afraid I'd run into a cow and kill myself. Um, what else did I do? I did the rowboat gag where we were jerked out of the rowboat by Jackie Chan's fishing. I was sitting in the helicopter that went through the tunnel.
Oh,
And the reason I got a chance to do, and I doubled Dean Martin on that movie too, and
nice.
doing some high work and some driving. So I was kept busy. I did a majority of the stunts on that movie, and only because Hal Needham had given me my first job as an extra years before. And Alan Gibbs, who was my mentor, was the stunt coordinator on that show.
Ah.
And for some reason, they just gave me a whole bunch of stuff to do on that. I was blessed. There are legends in that show that I got a chance to work with. Yeah, great memories, great fun. You know, Hal Needham, if I got time, he would at the end of each day. Back then, we would view what was called dailies or rushes. So that's when they were doing movies on film and not on digital. So you would get the rushes the next day, and then the director would watch them with his DP, and they would decide, well, do we have to reshoot this, or because they didn't see it before, there was no video playback. And Hal would do a full open bar brunch, if you would, at the end of the day for the whole crew. So we all got to go in there and drink and eat and watch it and laugh. And I think that was better than the movie. It was a hoot working on that.
Nice. No bar fights for real then.
No bar fights for real. No, I have some stories about bar fights, but those are in my books.
Yes. Yes. Unfortunately, I didn't have time to read the books.
No
But
worries.
yes, I will get to it because it's very interesting stunt work. I put the link to your book,
Thank you.
the one of the books, because it's what is it, 5 now?
I've got 5 books out. Yeah, 2 of them are about stunts.
Yes.
A Life at Risk and Too Old to Tell Lies.
Nice. So yes.
I don't care. I'm so old now I can lie about it, and who cares? Because stunt people, that's what we do. You know, when we get together and we talk about past gags, we do it. You know, the 30-foot fall turns into a 60-footer, and you know, then you are on fire, and then it all goes. You didn't use the
Well,
name.
yes.
Yeah.
I bet there's no records for most of them, is there? Of what was
No,
done?
there's no records. It's just us lying about it. That's all it is.
So you got Matt here from a Puggle 316. Now, I was going to ask about an episode of Married with Children you did, and I know Gene LaBelle was in that episode where you played a pirate.
Yeah. I don't remember much about that, but anytime Gene's name comes up, and there's any stunt people sitting around, be prepared to hear stories about him for at least an hour, because they go on infinitum. He is the kindest, sweetest, God rest his soul.
Yeah.
Sweetest, kindest man that I ever met. Cassius Clay, or Muhammad Ali at the time, said he was the toughest man alive, and anybody in the martial arts would say that and agree with it. He was fantastic on a motorcycle and a car. I remember going up to his place and riding motorcycles up in the hills and seeing him on his knees on the seat going up an incline like that. I mean, the guy was phenomenal. And you would look at him and he looked like a transient, almost, you know, like a homeless guy on the street sometimes. And he would carry his pads, not in a backpack like we all do, or he would carry it in a old suitcase to the set, which was hilarious. Yeah, I have some great stories about him. I used him on a movie I coordinated called Article 99. And I had Ray Liotta asked who that was. And I said, that's the toughest man alive. And Ray laughed. He couldn't stop laughing. That's not the toughest man alive. I said, Gene, come over here. So I had Ray come over, and I said, try choking him, Ray. So Ray put both of his hands on Gene's neck and started squeezing. And Gene just chuckled at him. And I said, no, lay into him, Ray. Really? I mean, Gene said, give him an apple box. So they put Ray up, who's 6 foot, put him up on the apple box, and now he's cranking down on Gene's neck, and Gene just saying, come on, pussy, is that all you got? And then they all believed he was the toughest man alive. And then he said, come over here, Rick, and show him how it's done. So I did a little move on him, and he threw himself on the floor. And everybody looked at him. I knew what he was doing. That's the kind of guy he was.
Yeah, it's nice. Let's have a look. So we'll start with something. The modern. You've done some Marvel. You've done Captain America, the First Avenger.
Yeah, I did some driving on that show. We were driving the old, I guess, 1930s or 20s cars, doing some car work on that. I've done Ant-Man. Guess I did 4 Batmans. I did Batman Returns, and then I did all of the Chris Nolan Batmans.
So yeah, I was gonna say the Batman Returns we showed in the clip is the explosion where the penguin comes up. Is that one of you flying?
Yes. Now that Batman Returns, what's the name of the director for that? I'm sorry.
Tim Burton.
Yeah, Tim Burton. So we came in a day before. This is back when ratchets were fairly new. For people who don't know what a ratchet is, it's a mechanical machine that has a cable on it. It attaches to a portion of your body and it jerks you out of a scene. we used to call those jerk-offs. So now we call them ratchets because you would get jerked off of a horse or a motorcycle, and it was usually done by riding to the end of a rope with a bungee on it. So that's the antique way. That's how old I am. That's the old way we used to do it. But in this particular scene, there were 30 ratchets going off at the same time. It was a world record, actually.
Right.
Put in for Guinness World Record on that. And it was on a tempered glass floor. So if the special effects people, they had mortars underneath that floor, if they had been a half a second too soon, you would have had a lot of killed and maimed stunt people on the floor.
Cool.
So we're all dancing. We have these masks on, a masquerade ball, and they set off that button and the floor exploded. And I remember looking down as I was jerked away to a wall about 20 feet away. I remember the glass coming up to my knee level and following me. That's how perfect the effects guys were on the button for that one. But that was a lot of fun working on that show.
Yeah. Because I think it's one of the early works of digital erasing of the wires, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, back then they used to place the camera in such a way that the wire would be blocked by you.
Right.
Then they got to the point where they said CGI was new, and they said, well, now paint the wire orange so we can see it, so we can take it out.
Right.
The next time I used that type of equipment, CGI had gone so far that I said, hey, there's a movie crew down the street. Don't you see that? They said, no, we'll take that out. Don't worry about it. So the process changed over the years in that respect.
Because is that the only stunt you did on the first Batman Returns?
Was that the first what?
Stunt you did on Batman Returns?
For any Batman movie?
Oh, well, no, you've done the Nolans, but did it any other in Batman Returns, the film?
No, in that particular movie, that was the only stunt I did.
Okay. Because, well, we'll get to the Nolans, because, so it's 3 Batmen.
4 Batmen. Yeah, who's counting?
Yeah. But we saw you in, was it Batman Begins as a policeman?
Yes, I was actually a policeman in every one of them. So Tom Struthers would bring us out 5 weeks early to rehearse all of the car work. And I was used to working on shows like Fall Guy and Knight Rider, where we would come in and do car rollovers the same day. There wouldn't be rehearsal times, or we'd do big car chases that took all day. And you were expected to be good at what you did, and you came in and you just did it. So when I got a call to do the first Chris Nolan, most of the guys I had heard of, but Tom had put together a team of stunt drivers that never worked together before. And it gelled perfectly because we're all friends to this day. But that's how the English do it. They'd spend a lot of time rehearsing, and I was happy to be there for 5 weeks rehearsing. We would have to go from Chicago and drive every morning to Indiana over the border to a warehouse where they were keeping the new Batmobile, and it was secret. So they came out when the Batmobile came out to be utilized in the rehearsal. They would tell the stunt people, don't take pictures of this. We don't want to see this on the internet. Nobody take pictures. And as soon as the guy turned around and walked away, we all got our cameras out and took pictures of it. They would even, if an airplane flew over, they would cover it up and push it into the warehouse. That's how secret it was.
All right.
But somebody put it up on the internet, and it was up there pretty quick anyway. But yeah, we had a lot of fun. We did car chases for weeks on end, and lots of crashes and gags like that. Chris gave me a little acting part in one of them, which is kind of fun. The actor that came in to do the dialogue, he couldn't drive the police car with all the lights on the hood and everything at the same time and do the dialogue.
All right.
So all of a sudden the radio comes over and Chris says, bring Rick Avery over here. And I said, what do you want, Chris? And he went, get in the driver's seat and I'll just feed you some lines. And that's what he did. Because I used to be a cop. So he said, just say what a cop would say. So I just threw out a whole bunch of lines, and I felt really bad because when I got into the car, the actor who was cast for that part left. He didn't get a chance to be in the movie, and I'm sure he had told his whole family he was excited to have a little part, and it didn't work out. So I think
Oh.
Chris gave each one of the stunt people, a few of us anyway, gave us a part, in the chase. It was kind of fun.
Oh, that's nice. Because you did, apart from the Batmans, Dunkirk with Nolan.
Yes, yes. Did all that stuff with the explosions on the ship
Right.
that was sinking. We did all that stuff in the back lot at Universal Studios. They built a portion of a ship that we utilized there, and it was just a lot of swimming and jumping and swimming underwater. And again, Chris Nolan, there's me and another friend of mine are in a lot of his movies, and he always gives us these little parts. So if you look closely, you'll see us swimming underwater after it starts to sink.
All right. Nice.
Yeah.
Because also,
It's always a pleasure to work on a Chris Nolan movie because you'll never find another director that spends 100% of the time, except when he's going to take a pee, he's on the set. If
okay.
you want to find Chris Nolan, he's right on the set with his DP and his little video box that he looks into, and that's where you find him, and that's dedication.
Yeah, I've heard that. He's there all the time and dedicated, like you said,
Yeah.
which is why he's doing so well, probably.
Yes.
So yeah, talking of being in the water, Titanic.
Titanic. We filmed that down in Rosarito Beach. And it's funny, it was the most expensive movie to be filmed at that time. It was $200 million. And with an unknown Kate Winslet and Leonardo DiCaprio, who were just young kids. And we thought that they would blow the budget and the movie would go nowhere. How are they going to make that $200 million back? They brought in 90 stunt people from all over the world, from Europe, from Mexico, from the United States, and we all got along famously. I remember the first day that we tilted the ship. Well, actually, in a rehearsal, they tilted it and it went to a 90-degree, and it got stuck. And we were all sitting on it, saying, "God, if this goes 1 degree more, we're all gonna die." But they got that fixed, and then my youngest son, who was a stunt man, was 8 years old. He started stunts when he was 3. The 90 stunt people would slide down the decks doing all of our wrecks, and then they would wait for Mikey to come down to catch him in their arms. So he had 90 uncles and aunts to protect him, and then he got to go home at midnight every night because it was all night shoots. But it was not a fun shoot, in no terms at all. It was James Cameron. I talk about him in my book. I worked with him on The Abyss, and it's a good story if anybody reads about it. How I feel about James Cameron.
Because I've been trying to get people from The Abyss on because everyone's tight-lipped about it. But yeah,
well, I'm not. The book, I'm not tight-lipped about it. Simon Kramer's the stunt coordinator on Titanic, and he shut the movie down one night because he felt it wasn't safe. And James Cameron said something about, quote unquote, "This is kid shit. My grandmother could do this," and he lost all of our respect that night. So we all went back to the hotel for one night. We came back to work the next day, but that's some salacious stuff on Titanic if you want to hear it. But it went on to be this giant movie, and I'm proud that I got a chance to work on it.
Yeah, that's nice. Because Matt's also asking about Leslie Hoffman.
Leslie Hoffman, yes.
Have you worked with her?
I think I might have worked with her once, but I couldn't tell you on what it was.
Okay, no worries. We got Salvatore Spanos here, and asking about Deadly Outbreak and The Expert, which you directed.
Yeah, well, I just saw Jeff 2 weeks ago because he's a martial artist in the same style that I'm a martial artist, Kempo Karate. And so when he got his 3-picture deal from Paramount to do The Perfect Weapon as the first movie, he called me up and asked me to come in as a stunt coordinator because he wanted the style of Kempo represented in the movie. So I brought in all the stunt people and I coordinated that first movie with him. And then I went on to stunt coordinate and second unit direct all of his movies after that. But then it got to the point when the expert came out, uh, halfway through shooting, the director had a nervous breakdown. So the
Oh,
producers asked me to take over as a director. Uh,
okay.
and it was a non-DGA movie. So I got in trouble for taking over. But they were at that point. I said, "Why don't you guys shut down for a week and a half or 2 weeks and find yourself a director?" Because I was only the second unit coordinator. I didn't cast it. James Brolin was in it, who
Oh,
was
yes.
fantastic to me afterwards. And
Ah,
but they said we don't have the money to do that. So will you please do that? And if you're fined by DGA, we'll pay all the fines.
oh,
So I was caught. They paid all the fines and they made all their money back, so they were happy. And then when Deadly Outbreak came, also known as Deadly Takeover, we filmed that in
right.
Israel. And Jeff told the producer, um, "Hey, why don't you know, all of the action they were talking about?" He said, "Well, Rick's going to second unit direct this, and this." And they said, "Well, why don't we just have him direct a movie? Because we need action." So that's how I got hired. That was a DGA movie, fortunately, so I didn't get in trouble anymore. And
Nice.
yeah, so that's how I know Jeff. And like I said, I just saw him a few weeks ago. I went to Las Vegas. He has one of the largest karate camps in the world, and I went there to give a seminar.
Oh, nice. Because yes, he's saying speak one of Speakman's best. Elaborate. Is there any Blu-ray releases for those? I couldn't find them. Apart
I
from
don't think so. The producers on that movie turned out to be some shysters. If anybody knows the definition of that, there's probably a clean and dirty version. But they held back my fees for a while.
ah,
I eventually got paid. I eventually got my residuals for it. Um,
good.
yeah, I don't know why it's not being shown. I know it's being shown in Europe, but I don't know why in the United States something is being held back. Something that is a cog in the wheel that's
Mm,
preventing it from being reshown.
right.
Hopefully, something will occur that'll
Yeah.
fix that, so I can make more money and more people.
Would
More
you do a
people.
commentary on it if asked?
Huh?
Would you do a commentary on it
A
on the
commentary on the
a
movie?
commentary on the film for the Blu-ray?
Oh, I'd be happy to. Sure,
Ah, yeah, that'd be cool.
absolutely. No, it was a fun. Terry Leonard is a legend in stunt work. He's also a great director, second unit director. And when they said they were filming it in Israel, I said, "Well, let me call Terry because he just got back from Israel." And when I called him and asked him, he said, "I would go back there in a second." So I said, "Okay, well, I'm going." And it was a fantastic experience. I really enjoyed filming there. The crew was
Oh,
great.
nice. That's good. Because I was going to say about us, you've done your fair share of erotic thrillers as well in the 90s.
Erotic thrillers. Well, it's funny, Wally Pfister, who's an
Oh,
Oscar-winning
yes.
DP, and he did a lot of Chris Nolan's work for a while. We were sitting on a set one day, and uh, I said, "Hey, Wally, did you ever think that where did we meet? Because we did a lot of work together." And he said, "Be careful how you look way back in your past. You may not want to find it." And then we realized that we met on when we were both doing low-budget erotic thrillers for I think it was cable TV, where they showed the women topless. That was the erotic thriller. And I had come out my first job to do a stair fall, and that's when I met Wally. So
Right.
we've entertained a great friendship since then. I just did a Ford commercial with him a while back where he requested me, and yeah, I love that guy. He's fantastic. He's a lot of fun to be on the set with, a lot of fun, and he likes
Oh,
to
cool.
move around with the stunt people. So yeah, any chance I get a chance to work with him, it's a blessing.
Because I counted about 5 erotic thrillers: Night Eyes 2, Mirror Images, Animal Instincts, Mirror Images 2, Ultimate Desires.
I did that many. Wow.
Those are just credited as.
Well,
So,
anything for $1 back then. So, I did low budget, big budget, whatever gives me pays the bills, I'm happy with.
well, exactly. If you go for something like big budget, like Titanic, and then the next, say, an erotic thriller where, like you said, it's a stair fall, is it
Yeah.
different?
And it's interesting enough, when I coordinated shows that were comedies
Mm.
that didn't have high budgets, like Anchorman or The Sweetest Thing. Um, those shows are usually not a long run show. Like you get on a Batman movie, you might be there for months.
Right.
Um, you get on those shows, you're there for 5, 6 weeks, and then you're on to the next movie. So financially, that's better because when the residuals come, I've done more shows that year and I maxed out on them. So I would
Right.
rather do 6, 7 weeks on a show, max out on it, and move on to the next one. So those little comedies, I love doing those for a while.
Yeah, because you've done Arrested Development as well. So
Yeah, Arrested Development. Yeah, a lot of stuff I don't even remember what I did on it. I, I
it's fine.
don't
Yeah,
remember.
well, when you've done over 700, yeah,
Yeah,
you're gonna.
yeah. I tried when in my books. I tried to remember the best stories, and those are the ones I seem to get together with my buddies and we tell all the time. So those stick out in your memory more than others. But occasionally, I'll have somebody come up and talk about something that I totally have forgotten.
No worries, because we'll get on to Canon films. You've done, I think I read about 4 of those.
Yeah, the interesting thing is when I did Look Who's Talking up in Canada,
Hmm.
they were building. Oh, not the Canada. I'm thinking of something else. Yeah, I've done Chuck Norris stuff. I know the whole family
Okay.
very, very close. I know Aaron Norris, Chuck's brother. I know Chuck really well. Eric, his son, who's gone on to direct a lot of stuff and directed a lot of episodes of Walker, Texas Rangers. So they used to fly us out from LA, pick us up in the Walker, Texas Ranger limo,
Oh.
and we would just have a hoot. It was just fantastic fun working with Chuck. Firewalker, we were in Mexico doing that. And I remember Chuck was in one cab, and Aaron, his brother, was in our cab, and we decided to race to dinner that night. And all I remember is looking, screaming at the driver. We were throwing pesos at him, driving crazy through Mexico City. And Chuck, we looked over and he was throwing money at his driver to go faster. And their car broke down, so we ended up winning.
Hey.
But working around Chuck and the family is great. I remember on a Walker, Eric Norris was directing, and Chuck's stunt double and his sidekicks double, the black stunt, the black actors. They had to swing from a building, and then they cut to the stage where they swing in through a glass window, and it was Elam. Yeah, Elam was doubling the one actor, and he went through the window and it broke. And Chuck's double came up to the window and slammed into it, stopped, held on for a second, and just slid down the window. And everybody started cracking up, and Eric kept rewinding it so everybody could see it and laugh at it. It was hilarious. But that's the kind of fun we had on that show.
Nice. Yeah, because you did was it Firewalker with Chuck as well?
Yeah, that's
Hero,
Mexico.
Hero and the Terror.
Hero and the Terror. Yeah, I think I had a little part doing a little crash with a van or something, and then a little shootout where I get shot. Yeah.
And then was it Assassination with Charles Bronson.
Oh yeah, I don't remember much about Assassination. No. I know we were working in Lake Tahoe.
Yeah.
And I think I did a shootout with him too. I do remember his wife coming up at the time and saying she loved the house so much that we were shooting in that she wanted him to buy it. And he said, "Sure, honey." I don't know if he bought it or not, but he sounded believable.
Nice. And then Alan Quatermain on the Lost City of Gold.
Oh, yeah. Don Pike hired me for that earlier in my career, and we all had to wear these giant, for lack of a better term, they were giant thongs, if you would, but they looked like big giant diapers.
Right.
And there was a PA assistant that would make fun of us all day long, every day, and we learned to hate her very much. And on the last day, when they wrapped it, we all lifted her up and put her in a trash bin and locked it. And all we heard was screams as we left, because you can't do that today, but back in the day, Stunt people got away with murder. You know, we were expected to act a little bit crazy, and you know, people learned to stay away from us and fear us in a way.
Well,
So
yes, I was going to say, how do you view the film Hooper Man? Sorry, Hooper
I
with
love
Burt Reynolds.
I love Hooper. A lot of the names that he uses, like Joffrey Brown, he used actual stunt guys' names in the movie when he talks to them. The guy at the gate, Scotty, he used his name too. And Scotty used to work the gate at Universal. And for us new stunt people, we had to do what's called the hustle. So when you're breaking into this business, you have to get your resume and a picture and go visit stunt coordinators to get to know them, shake their hands. And for us to sneak onto Universal, we used to have to lie why we were getting on the lot because we weren't supposed to be there. And Scotty would know these tricks. So he would make you come back over and over again until you came up with a good lie, and then he eventually let you in. So yeah, Scotty was portrayed in that movie. I love that movie, and when he does the car rollover with the AD in it, the assistant director, believe me, we've all wanted to do that to an assistant director, so it hit home with us. But the fight that they had, you mentioned singing, and I did used to sing in a band called Bandit. There was two stuntmen and three other regular people in it. And the Eppers, I don't know if you've ever heard of the Epper family, world famous stunt family going all the way back to John Epper. It's a generational family. They came to celebrate one of their birthdays at the bar that night. It was the first night our band was playing at a place called the Londoner. They all showed up, they all got drunk, they all started fighting with each other, and they destroyed the inside of this bar, just like in Hooper. People were going out of windows. I grabbed my saxophone. The band members grabbed their stuff, and I remember going out the front door and laughing my ass off. And eventually, when it calmed down, the owner didn't call the police, but he came out, and the Eppers said, "We'll pay for all the damages, and we'll cover all this. Don't worry about it, sir." And he said, "You don't have to pay for a thing. This was the best night I've ever had, and I'm going to build a stage for this band, and they have a year contract with us."
Nice.
So the fight you see in Hooper, yeah, it's real.
That's nice to know. Oh yes. Have you seen Once Upon a Time in Hollywood with Cliff Booth?
Yeah, I did.
What's your opinion on that then?
Listen, I'm a big Brad Pitt fan. I've worked on a few movies with Brad. I think he was fantastic in that movie. It's a tongue-in-cheek thing. Listen, I also saw The Fall Guy. I was invited to the to the screening of that with a ton of other stunt people. It was a wonderful night to see old friends. I worked on the original TV series, so it was fun to come back and see the movie. I didn't like it, and the reason I didn't like it is it seems like stunt people are always portrayed as the dumb cowboy that they bring in to throw down the stairs, and he likes it. We're a lot more professional than that. I mean, yeah, we have good times. I could go on with stories about good times, just like I did about the last one. I got a million of those stories, but I was hoping for something more dramatic. Even the director and the producer, the actors were talking about, yeah, well, maybe this will get us the Academy Award recognitions that we don't get. Yeah. But it wasn't serious enough, and even the way the director abused her boyfriend by jerking him into the rock over and over. I mean, to me, it didn't take my career and elevate it in any way.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping someday somebody will come out with something serious about what we do. Still have fun times in it, but I didn't like it.
Yeah, I definitely can see that.
Hollywood, it's fine. Actually, we just gave a plaque to Brad because he wore our Stuntmen's Association logo in the movie. So we were pleased, and he accepted it with grace. So that was kind of nice.
Because the original Fall Guy, it's one I grew up on because I'm all into stunts and stuff. But yeah,
we did nonsensical stunts on that. We would show up, and Mickey Gilbert, God rest his soul, was the stunt coordinator, second year director. And his sons were working on the show. And what he would do with those jump ramps that were built with tons of different wood, at the end of the day, he would put the wood for the jump ramps, and he'd put them on a trailer and tell the boys to drive it to the ranch in Durango, Colorado, so he could use it building the ranch. That's how cowboy stunt people are. But I remember seeing Tim Gilbert do the first car rollover I ever saw was on that show, and
Right.
I was working my first day on it. And when he did that car rollover, I was blown away to see it in person. It's different than in a movie. And I swore that's something I wanted to do. And so years later, I've done tons of those things and had a blast doing them. But that was the first time I ever saw one.
Nice. Yeah, I guess I've not seen anything like that in my up close at all, but I can imagine.
Yeah, the sound of it. Well, in the beginning of my reel, you see this Ferrari that I roll, and the director wasn't running sound that day. And he said, "Rick, I need to add sound to what you did, and can you tell me what it's like in the car?" And so I said, "Well, it's the sound is you're speeding up to the ramp, and all you hear is engine, and then it's quiet. It's deathly quiet." And then it's like being in a washing machine with a bunch of metal. He did a great job looping that sound in. It sounds very real.
Yeah, because I had to check the video when I played it earlier when I was editing it. I thought, oh, it cuts out for a few seconds.
Yeah,
but it's on purpose. That's nice to know.
yeah, that's exactly it.
That's something like yes, Beverly Hills Cop 3. Did you meet Eddie?
Oh yeah, I worked with Eddie. Eddie was a pain in the ass on that movie. Sorry,
Allegedly so.
Too old to tell lies. Buy the book. He's in the book. Yeah, I mean, he had this deal going where we would call him, and his chair was never on the set, and we would call him to come and do the scene. And every time we called him, he would make us wait an hour. And then if he came to the set and he didn't like what he saw and we had to rehearse it, he said, "Okay, the hour starts again," and he would leave. So it cost us about 2-3 hours a day playing that game. The first night, I had a little part in the beginning of the movie. John Landis, who I've done a lot of movies with, came over with a hat and said, "You're playing this part. Get over here and play an undercover cop." And then I crashed into the chop shop doing a car crash. And that night we're in downtown LA. There's nobody around but the rats running across the street. And I'm showing Eddie how to throw a punch at the first guy that opens the door. And I go like this, pull my hand back. "Okay, Eddie, you're just going to go like this." And I bump into a chest and at this level, and I look up and it's one of his bodyguards. And they would call him number one. They had earpieces and guns, and they treated him like he was the president. And I said, can you just give me just a little room? There's nobody here on the streets but these little running things. I mean, can I have a little room? And then I remember we're doing a fight at Wonderland, and I was choreographing it, and I brought Eddie in to show him a move, and he ends up on his back next to the actor he's fighting, and he said, "Well, how do I get out of this?" And I went, "Take a hammer fist," which is a martial arts move, "and I want you to throw that hammer fist across and hit him in the chest, and at the same time roll over on top of him, and then you can whoop on him." And Eddie said, "I don't want to do that. That's a bitch punch," because Eddie feels he's a boxing enthusiast. I am. So
well, yes.
what I did is I popped him in his chest to show him it wasn't, and so he liked that, and we ended up using it in the movie. Eddie was fine. He's fun. He's a funny guy.
Yeah. There are plenty of stories about that film, aren't there? So yeah.
Yeah, there are. I can't believe there's that ride that we utilized, and that was an actual ride, no CGI. And I had my family up there. My family all do stunts. And now that I look at it, I went, that was stupid. I mean, the people who ran that park, I mean, they said it was safe for us to get out of control, but that ride was wild. And Alan Alney, who was doubling Eddie, was on a wire jumping from one of those cabins.
Yeah.
I don't call it cabins, but he was jumping, and he didn't need that wire. That's how athletic that guy is.
Yeah, it looks cool.
He kept coming down after each take saying, "Why are you trying to kill me?" When you're on a wire, you're not going to die.
Nice. Speaking of John Landis, yes, you did Innocent Blood vampire film. Is that you on fire at the end?
Yeah. I doubled. Oh gosh, the lead actor in that.
John Loggia, no, Robert Loggia.
Robert Loggia, no,
The other guy. Oh,
the hero, Anthony LaPaglia.
that's him.
I doubled him on the show. Yeah, that movie took years off my life.
Oh,
Because John wanted to do it in Pittsburgh because he wanted to see the breath of the vampires.
right.
So we did it in the midwinter. It's all nights, but one day, only one day, all night shoots. So it was really hard on the crew, sub-zero temperatures sometimes. And it's funny because I double Robert De Niro all the time.
Yes.
And I was just back in New York last month or so, about 2 months ago. And the producer who hired me to bring me out there, we were talking about how cold it was that night. And she mentioned that her husband was the script supervisor on that movie. And she says, "Oh, isn't that funny? I didn't know you were on that movie, Rick." And I went, "Yeah, I was the stunt coordinator on it." And she said, "He said that movie took years off his life." I said, "It took years off everybody's life. It was crazy." Yeah, John's great. He loves stunt people. I've done a few movies and TV things with him. Yeah.
That's cool. So I guess there's the book again. One of the 5 books, you'll find the rest in the same link. That's a question. I remember a TV short called High Mountain Rangers. You did stunt double on an episode.
Yeah, actually, I was playing myself, and yeah, that one doesn't have good memory, and I was stupid because they brought us up to Folsom Prison. We're supposed to be shooting an escape that day, and it was raining. I won't mention the stunt coordinator's name. I was fairly new back then. I should have known better, but because we were losing time, our first shot, me and the other stunt guy, we were supposed to run off this hill and then jump about 15, 20 feet down to the dirt and then run away from the prison. We didn't get a chance to go up there and see where we were going to leave from.
Oh.
We were rushed. And instead of putting my foot down as I would nowadays, I didn't. I just went up there, went with the flow. And when they said action, we ran and jumped. And my partner, he broke his arm. I landed. It was mud at that point, which saved me because my hand and my feet, one hand and 2 feet went into the mud, which saved me. But the other one hit a rock below the mud and it broke my wrist. Oh. So we were sent home immediately. So we didn't get to do the rappels we were brought up to do. And yeah, so that was, I had to go to work 3 days later with a broken wrist. So I went to my doctor who takes care of the LA Raiders at the time. I said, "Hey, I've got to do a job where I'm throwing over a bar tomorrow. What should I do?" And he said, "Can you wear something?" I went, "No, I'll be wearing wardrobe." He said, "Well, just hold on to your wrist like this when they throw you over the bar, and you should be fine. And if not, if you break it more, come back tomorrow and I'll fix it."
Nice.
That's why we had him as a doctor. He loves stunt guys.
Ow.
Yeah.
Yes, Jack Shoulder. I've interviewed him about the Hidden.
Yeah, that was Don Pike was the stunt coordinator on that.
Right.
We did a bunch of driving on that show, and then we did the. I think we were holding a thing of glass. Yeah, a large glass pane walking across the street, and the car comes in. Yeah. So my buddy is the one who did the car hit, and then I just got out of the way. But yeah, we just did a bunch of driving on the Hidden. But that was a fun show.
Yeah, because how many Ferraris was it? 3 or something?
Yeah.
Nice. Because is there any stunts, type of stunts you won't do, like water, No, you've done water, but high dives into water or something, or
Yeah, I'm not a high guy. I think the highest high fall I ever did was 50 feet. It scared the crap out of me. Um, yeah, I'm not. I don't do well with heights. I'm a helicopter pilot. I've got 9,000 hours as a pilot. You, but I have fear of heights if I'm on a building,
right,
any higher than 30 feet, and I'm not happy. So I had this job. The only reason I took it was because it was a backwards high fall. So if I don't have to look at the airbag on the way down, then I'm okay. So it was good through some. So it was through a window, through some glass, and it's on my reel somewhere. But yeah, I accept. I have a strong feeling because and you can quote me that a lot of my peers from the same generation. Uh, to be a stuntman when I went through the business, you needed to do a lot of things. You would come in with an expertise of some sort, whether it's gymnastics, racing, motorcycles, martial arts, whatever it happened to be. And then you would build upon that. So you were expected to be able to do fights, to do fire, to be thrown
right,
down the stairs, to do small high falls, to do car work, to do motorcycle work. You're expected to at least be able to be average in all of those things
right.
and then behave on the set. So nowadays it's not like that. I mean, the younger generation, they come in and uh, they might have one or two skills, but they're not training in all of the skills that are needed. A lot of that has to do with CGI because they can, do it that way. So, the business has changed a lot, and I don't want to sound like the old fogey that says the back back in those days, but anyone I talked to that worked in this business from the late 70s through the 80s, early 90s, all agree that was the golden age for stunt work. We were still figuring it out. A director would say, "Hey, Rick, you're going to roll that car. What's going to happen?" Well, I think, or it should, we'd be guessing sometimes. You're gonna pull this guy in a ratchet. Where's he going to end up? Well, he should. And here, we're experimenting back then. So it was more of a hoot and fun back then. It's a little different nowadays, and I think uh, the veterans that I work with on sets nowadays, we truly miss that. Yeah, and I think that the newer people who never experienced it, they missed a good thing.
Yeah, because if you're weeks in a green room just flying on a harness or something, instead of falling from a building for real, then
Yes, yes,
how do you react to that?
yeah, yeah. And it's hard. It's hard working on green screens for those people, and it's boring. You're giving up a lot of time in your life to a production company, so it's tough. But yeah, I wouldn't change the years that I got a chance to spend my first few decades in this business. I was really and I was very fortunate to work with people like Hal Needham and my mentor Alan Gibbs, who was in my mind the greatest stuntman who ever lived, and taught us so much how to ride a horse and do saddle falls and do car rollovers and it was on the job training with him, and he would break you in slowly. So I was with him for 3-4 years before he gave me my first car rollover, and everybody else who was working with him had already done them, and I was feeling bad about that. And I remember the first car job he gave me. He says, "Okay, we were in New York doing Legal Legals," and he said, "Okay, Rick, now Buck McNasser, you're gonna crash this car under a semi, and Tim Gilbert, I want you to throw a 180 over here and then spin out." He was giving all these great car work to everybody. He said, "Rick, don't go past this crosswalk. I just want you to step on the brakes." And I went to the car and I went, "Oh shit, I'm not doing anything in the scene." And then I realized when the actor came on the set, he said, "Okay, now you need to come to a stop. Just don't hit Robert Redford."
Yeah.
So that was his way of testing a stunt person to see, can you follow direction? Just do the simple thing I ask. And then the next job, it would be throwing 90, but don't hit the Mercedes that you're throwing the 92. And then he eventually worked you into bigger and bigger things. So
Oh,
that's
nice.
how he trained a lot of legendary stunt people. He's a highly respected man.
Yeah, because one of the names I remember from the 80s was Dar Robinson.
Yeah,
films
same
like
thing
Skate.
with Dar. Died in in a freak accident, and
Hmm.
and he came out with the Descender, which was a big deal because now we could film somebody falling, but see the ground behind them.
Yeah,
Now everybody's on a wire doing falls, and so it's made it a lot safer in some respects, uh, but in some respects unrealistic. So
yeah,
I think the thing is, I always thought that the audience would get tired of CGI, but it seems like it's a younger audience and they expect it.
yeah.
So what are you gonna do?
Well, it's like John Landis again with Blues Brothers 2000, that amazing car crash. If they did that today, they would just be cutting and pasting cars in, wouldn't they?
That was not CGI. Yeah, and
No.
I put that up there. Yes, this is real. We
It's
destroyed it. Was
amazing.
Guinness World Book of Record at the time. 54 cars, and we did it in 2.5 days, which is nowadays it would take weeks to shoot that. John set up 10 cameras, and he didn't move a single camera, and he would just say action. And I had planned for this. He had come to my office in the beginning of the movie and said, Rick, I'm realizing this script, we don't have a big car thing in the first movie. People are going to expect that.
Yes.
So he said, why don't you figure out something with 5 cars? Do a wreck into a cement paver. And I went, oh, okay. And then he would come back every day and add cars until it was 54 cars. And I was running out of ideas. How am I going to? So I eventually came up with the idea of crashing a bunch of cars into the cement paver, and then cars jumping over those cars, and eventually the big car rollovers over that. And I remember the first take, John didn't settle for things in a small manner. The first take, he didn't like the speed that the cars crashed into the cement paver. So he came over to me. He said, "I need your guys to come in hotter and faster." So I said, "Any volunteers?" So this one Canadian guy raised his hand because we shot it in Toronto.
Okay.
He went, are you going to come in hot? And he went, yeah. I went, okay. So he got in the car. He hit that cement paver so hard that the rear of his car came up like this. And I think Jamie Jones came underneath his car. And this kid's car, the console came in and bruised his chest. It just touched his chest. So at the end, everybody's saying, cut, everybody okay? Everybody gave him a thumbs up. But this kid was in the ambulance and said, is he okay? And they said, yeah, he's fine. So I went over to check on him. And when I went to check on him, he had a pacemaker that he was wearing. And I went, why didn't you tell me you had a heart problem? And he went, would you have let me do the stunt? I went, no. So he passed away a few years ago, but what a courageous kid. Yeah. Yeah, there was a lot of stories on that. John Landis wanted to do, if I have time, John Landis wanted the Bluesmobile to arrive like in the first movie, where it comes down the street and does a 180 and parks on the opposite side of the street. So I said, okay, John. And he said, and I wanted a Lamborghini and a Ferrari that he throws the car in between. We didn't do that in the first one. And the CGI, which was new back then, said, well, John, I could put those in post and he could just do it. And he said, no, I want it for real. So that the night of, I brought Jack Gill up, who's a legendary car man, legendary stuntman, good friend.
Yeah, I've spoken to Jack. He's a great guy.
Yeah, he's fantastic. And I said, okay, Jack, you're gonna throw the Bluesmobile up there. I think we had like 14 different Bluesmobiles that did different things. So I was over there and I said, so John, how far do you want these cars apart? And he said, I want them 3 feet apart from where the Bluesmobile. I'm 3 feet. That's that. And Jack got nervous. So Jack came. So when they were putting the cars there, the Teamsters, I went over and I said, guys, cheat a little bit. Make it 4 feet. He'll never know. But I didn't know Tom Landis was right behind me and said, I heard that. And then so he went over and he said, one of the grips, bring me over our tape measure. And so he measured it 3 feet. Jack came in and did the first one. Perfect. And John didn't just say print. He said, do another one, make it 2 feet. So Jack came in and did it at 2 feet. Print. Let's do another one, 1 foot. Jack came in and did it at a foot. Perfect every time. So that's a Jack Gill endorsement right there.
Amazing. Before we get on to Mr. De Niro, I'd like your opinion on a film you're not in.
Okay.
but it's one of De Niro's, Ronin.
Yeah. Good movie.
Because that's mostly French teams of stunt work, isn't it?
Yes. I actually think they used race car drivers, didn't they?
Mm.
Yeah.
Because that one scene where they're all coming at each other, they have to flash their lights so they know which way to go and all this.
Yeah. That's kind of like the French Connection and movies like that. That was real stuff. So there wasn't camera tricks to make things look faster.
Mm.
There wasn't camera speed changes so much to make things look faster. Back then it was real. So you guys got guys like Carrie Lofton, who was a legend, in Bullet, doing these types of car chases, who gave me my first driving job, which is in the book. That's a great story. Carrie Lofton, those guys, did that stuff for real. So yeah, very impressed with that.
Yeah, because was it the French Connection? They didn't even have permission to do some of the stuff.
They were stealing shots, right?
Just drive down the street 100 miles per hour, dodging traffic.
Yeah.
Let's go. But as well, I guess we'll get on to Heat because someone was asking about Heat. Yeah, Marky Mark was asking about Michael Mann on Heat. But before we do, you did LA Takedown first.
I did LA Takedown. I played a part for Michael
Right.
Mann. I think it was a bank robbery. I forget my dialogue. And then there was a shootout in the bank. And so Michael asked for me to come and be in Heat, playing this part as one of the armored car drivers that gets shot in the head. And that night, I remember Michael, when he did the close-up, he wanted me to fall like straight back without, it was very unnatural.
Right.
And he came over and wanted me to do that close-up where I'm doing this again. And Michael had a 1,000-foot mag and just came up real close to me, and he shot that himself. And
Right.
Al Pacino was off to the side saying, "Well, Michael, shouldn't he sway a little bit more? I mean, his ears are." And Michael's going like this, like "Shut up!" And he was interesting. Yeah. So I got to work more as an actor stunt guy on that with Bob. And then I went on to do a bunch of movies as a stunt double and coordinator.
I got a long list here somewhere. Now, was it Dirty Grandpa, War with Grandpa, Grudge Match, Meet the Fockers, Showtime, and I guess
there's a few more. We just did. Oh man, I can't remember the name of this. The Comeback Trail.
Oh yes, I saw that.
Yeah, we did that. There was one we did with John Travolta, Killing Season, which was a big flop. We just finished up Zero Days or something like that, a TV series.
That's upcoming, isn't it? 0 Day, yes.
Yeah, I've done quite a few movies with him. As a matter of fact, when I saw him, which was just about 6 weeks ago, I think, when I saw him, we gave a big hug to each other. I said, "Do you realize we've been working together for this is our 13th movie?" Really? Yeah. So yeah, he's a good man to work for. Very quiet, very shy in some respects. If you watch him on a talk show, you'll see that. He doesn't.
Yeah.
If you don't have something to say, when you walk up and you want to have a conversation with Bob, because his chair is on the set. He always has a chair and a table, and it's by the set but set apart from the set. And
Right.
Bob has that face, like unapproachable. But I approached him because I had something to say, and we got along fine. And being his stuntman gives you a lot of credit. So I can go to his motorhome and knock on the door, and we could talk. And Ernie, who is his driver, will always let me in. So it's I get a lot of that. But
oh, nice.
If you don't have something to say, don't go up there because it better be an interesting conversation because he's not going to carry it.
Casino was one of his other early ones.
Yeah, I worked on Casino, but not as his double. I
No.
worked to Meet the Fockers with him too, not as his double.
Right.
I was doubling Dustin Hoffman on that. Casino. I played a part where Joe Pesci beats me up in an alley, I think.
All right.
And then the guy Carl Cefalio, I should mention this. God bless him. He's the guy that got his head crushed in that scene. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
He's unfortunately in hospice right now. He's
Ah,
not doing so well. So the stunt community were really sad about Carl Safalio. Great stunt guy.
oh, that's a shame. But going from one great actor to another, Vanilla Ice in Cool as Ice.
Yeah, Vanilla Ice and the only thing I remember about that, I mean, I remember hiring Jack Gill, I think, on it, and Marguerite Happy to do the horse work. Uh, I remember him, our dressing rooms are what they call a honey wagon. That's where the stunt people and the actors that are lower on the call sheet. That's where we all, and you have a little private dressing room.
Okay.
So I was sitting outside on the steps of my honey wagon room, and he pulled up in this limo, and all of his entourage got out. He was walking by me, and he says, "Why are you sitting there, Rick?" And I went, "This is my room." And he went, "This is where they have you? You're not sitting in this room for the rest of this movie. You're staying in my whatever you want to call it, his big bus or whatever it was." So yeah, I didn't spend any more time in my. Every time I had a break and I had to sit down, I went to his big trailer. So yeah,
Nice.
he was a very nice guy, really. Sweet.
Yeah, I have heard he's a very nice guy. Just
Yeah.
The film is just.
I don't know that the movie did anything for his career, but
No, bless him. So yeah, done a Riptide, T.J. Hooker, Equalizer. A lot of my favorite TV shows as well.
yeah, T.J. Hooker, Riptide, a bunch of those. As a matter of fact, somebody's coming out next week doing something about Knight Rider, and they asked me to go on the show next week. But yeah, those were fun times. I'll tell you why they were extra fun times, because back then, as a stuntman, if you showed up on a show and you had a certain wardrobe, when you changed that wardrobe to be a different stuntman and put a wig on or a mustache or a hat, hats were big back then. Just put on a baseball cap, you're a different person. You would get an extra contract. So sometimes you'd go on a show like Knight Rider and you get a couple of contracts for the day, and then you'd get residuals on a couple of contracts. Well, eventually they got wise to that production, and they made, on the next negotiations later on, they came up with the word utility stuntman.
I've seen that, yes.
You could change 20 times and you're still only going to get the one contract. So they got smart about that.
They don't miss a trick, do they?
No. But we would go, back then it was so busy here in Hollywood that you would work on Knight Rider during the day, you would wrap, you go work on Riptide that night, and sometimes you'd work 3 shows in a day if the coordinator would let you out really quick. Like, hey, I have to get out of here. I have to go work, on A-Team, or I have to go work on, Dukes of Hazzard. Okay, as soon as we get done with you, I'll let you go. And sometimes you get 2-3 contracts working on 2 or 3 shows. So your credits built up. You met a lot of people back then. And that was the height of television for, back in the 80s here in Hollywood.
Yeah, it was great with all those shows of plenty of stunts in them, plenty of comedy, and then bad guys get beaten. Everyone's a winner. Luckily enough to grow up around those.
Yeah.
Okay. Man Down.
Man Down. Man Down. What's that?
Man Down. Jean-Claude Van
Down.
AWOL in the UK.
What do they say? Don't say anything bad. Yeah, okay. I doubled him on this movie and coordinated that movie, Lionheart.
Yes.
And I doubled, I guess, the guy who was playing his brother. I had to do a full burn on that.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that full burn didn't go too well, because when you hit the ground, I had to borrow a mask from Johnny Meyer, famous Stunts Unlimited stunt guy, and it had a zipper in the back, but it had a face on it. So it barely fit me. The problem was after I did that gag, I laid down to be put out. It was a big fire and go deal. They couldn't get the mask off of me, and I was running out of oxygen. And so I was breathing out the side of my mouth, trying to get whatever I could, because I was in an air system. back then we used to have a bottle taped to your leg with a tube that went all the way up and into a regulator in your mouth. So everything was really tight and they couldn't get the mask over. And then finally I was able to just the last second rip it off before I passed out.
Oh, right.
Next thing I knew, there was an oxygen mask on. You okay, Rick? Yeah, I'm okay. Get rid of that mask. You can't get it off. The only thing I remember about Van Damme on that show, to tell you the truth, is him walking by the caterer one day and chewing them out because there were seeds in the watermelon. And he wanted he wanted seedless watermelon. So if that tells you something about the man,
It certainly does.
there you go. I know a lot of people in the martial arts, and he's not really a highly respected person. You know,
Okay.
I'll leave it with that.
Have you got time to carry on?
Yes, I have time.
Okay. Because I got some of my favorites. Might as well get them out of the way. Basketball.
What did I do on basketball? I think that was
I'm
from.
trying to think of what stunts there are actually in basketball. There's
Yeah.
car driving.
I don't remember doing much of anything. Something in a gymnasium, I think. I think Monty Cox was the stunt coordinator, a good friend of mine. Monty's an amazing man. He's the guy who trained the Exxon Tigers and Siegfried and Roy's Tigers. He was known as the exotic animal trainer for movies, but he's also an incredible stuntman.
Okay.
And just a man's man. But yeah, I was working for him, but I don't remember what I did on basketball.
No
But they're
worries.
still showing it. I get a residual every once in a while, so it's
Well, that's good.
still on television.
What about Elvira?
Elvira, I don't remember what I did on Elvira.
No worries.
That was also a Monty Cox show. That's
there you
funny you pulled two of them up there.
go. Sorry, Men at Work with Charlie Sheen and Emilio Estevez.
Car work. I don't remember what I did on that.
No worries.
I don't remember. Those are way long time ago.
Yeah. Well, we got two Brandon Lee ones. What about The Crow and Rapid Fire?
Yeah. So again, because I'm in the martial arts family of a lot of people, I got called by Jeff Amata, who is a highly respected stuntman in his own, to come out and work on Rapid Fire.
Cool.
So my job that week was just to do this particular fight with Brandon, who was a wonderful, wonderful man. The sweetest, kindest, and loved the stunt people. And yeah, I knew his mom because I had a feature fight. I'm a fighter, martial arts fighter from years ago, and also a boxer. So she came to watch one of my matches. So I'm familiar with the Lee family. And so when the second movie came out, The Crow, I was called to go back east, North or South Carolina, I forget which one, to finish the show, which was very weird because Brandon had been killed. And his stuntman was in the back seat, and with that makeup on, the Crow's makeup on, you couldn't tell the difference. So it was really eerie. I had a car chase to do, doubling an actor. I can't remember the actor's name, but it was basically... they didn't have a lot of drivers back then, so because it was pickup shots and the crew was so down from what had happened, I had to do a car chase in a police car, jump out of the police car, jump in an ND car, drive that out, and get a near miss with another police car. Bobby Bass was coordinating that at that time, and then I did the stunt double where the car goes off the pier at the end. So I didn't get to see Brandon on that show because he was gone at the time because of that terrible accident. But yeah, what a thrill and a privilege to work with that man. I'm very proud to say I got a chance to do that.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, because Rapid Fire, he just looks, every move is just like effortless. It's just like...
He would have had such a wonderful career because he was liked by the crew, he was liked by the talent, and he had a lot of talent and a good look to him. Just an educated, wonderful, wonderful guy. Yeah, very, very sad.
Yeah, he had that movie star charisma as well.
Yeah, and Jeff Amata, who was the stunt coordinator, who I have worked and who has worked me. He actually was the first guy to use me as Robert De Niro's stuntman. So since that first movie, doubling him, I moved on to double him on everything. So I have to thank Jeff Ramada for that.
Yeah, he's like you. He's got a long list of
A
credits.
very long list. Yeah, I hold him dear to my heart. You know, at the end, we all the stuntmen have the same story, but at the end of the day, after you've done a stunt, we get what's called a bump, which is a stunt adjustment. So you come in and you do your contract. Let's say you're getting $1,500 for the day, or whatever the contract is nowadays. Back when I started, it was $225 a day. Now I think it's $1,300 or $1,400 for an 8-hour day.
All right.
But then at the end of the day, your stunt coordinator gives you a bump. So if you did a car rollover, maybe you get $10,000 on top of your contract. Back in my day, it was $3,000 for a car rollover. But you get the stunt adjustment. But Jeff would always give you your adjustment, and then, okay, Jeff, that's fine. He said, and he would say, "You sure? You sure?" He said, "Okay." And I went, "Yeah, 200's fine, Jeff. It's fine." And then you'd walk away, and you get 10 steps, and he went, "Wait." He said, "Are you sure it's okay?" And you go back and forth, and let me get to my car. I want to go home. And you would tell this to other stunt people, and they'd say, "Yeah, he's done the same to me. You can't get away from him." But yeah, I love Jeff. It's funny because he and I were invited to Dragon Fest here in LA to, I guess, the Kempo Hall of Fame, which I'm a member of. I've been inducted to. Wanted to induct Brandon into it. So Jeff and I went to Dragon Fest to present that,
Nice.
to get Brandon into that Hall of Fame. Yeah.
That's very good.
Yeah.
Let's see, Michael Myers, you did the bank robbery thriller Killing Zoe with Roger Avery.
Robert Killing Zoe. Can't remember it.
No, it's about mid-90s. Yeah. Never mind.
I can't remember. Some of these shows you come in for a day or a few days, and you might be doing ND car work, or you might be doing a small car crash. I was watching The Italian Job the other day, and I didn't even remember what I did on that. And then finally, they came to a portion of cars crashing and a portion of cars going through people. I remember doing that, but I just, I don't mean to sound not humble. I just sometimes don't remember the stuff.
Yes, like you say, if it's a quick stunt or change the name of the film before it comes out.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, we've mentioned Van Damme. People are asking about Seagal now. If you've ever worked for Steven Seagal.
I've never worked with Seagal. The only thing I know about Seagal is the Gene LaBelle story.
Gene LaBelle story.
I've heard the story from two people, Steve Lambert, who is a close friend of mine.
We lost him. I interviewed him a couple of years ago.
And he swears his story is right. Mario Roberts swears his story is right. They both disagree with the story and both claim they were there. So I don't know who to believe, but it turns out that Gene LaBelle did choke him out. So one way or the other, that's how the story went. But I don't know much about Steve. I know he tended to go hard on the stunt guys.
Yes, I was going to say that he hurt a lot of people.
For hurting stunt people when he does fights. I know Jeff Speakman was tough on my stunt guys. He never hurt anybody, but he was tough on the stunt guys. But I just gave him bigger stunt adjustments, so they didn't care.
Yeah, I guess he still respected them as well at the same time, rather than using them as a punching bag. American Sniper, Clint Eastwood. Did you get to work with Clint or not?
Yes, I did. What a joy. Well, you can go on the internet, any of your listeners should, and get comments from actors and stunt coordinators that have worked with Clint on movies, and the story is always the same. So Jeff Haberstadt called me to come in and do some driving, and the set that Clint worked, he works with the same crew all the time. And they don't have early calls. It's like 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock in the morning. They don't work past 8 hours or so during the day. Normally it's 12, 14 hours on most shows. The first thing you notice is how quiet it is. So quiet that you look around and go, am I in the wrong place? Is this a movie being made here? And you realize that there's no radios going off. And when you walk on the set, everybody is ready. It's not like you walk on the set and sound's getting ready and everybody's still hunkering down. When he gets ready to shoot, they're ready. Sound thing is up, cameras are up. He usually only does one take and then says, and argue with the actor, asks for another one. He says, why would I want you to fuck it up? So he would move on. He's very frail now because he's older. He walks kind of bent over. But what an icon! So all I had to do was, it's a scene where the lead actor has to do, Ryan Reynolds, I guess it was. He had to do a U-turn in his truck, and he just cuts off some traffic. So Clint comes over to me and he was introduced to me. And he said, "Well, Rick, what would you do?" It wasn't like a stunt where the stunt coordinator says, he's going to come here, you throw a 90, you throw a 90, blah, blah, blah. That's it. He asked me what I would do. And so I said, well, Clint, I would probably run up the curb, or I would just slide up to the curb, or do that. So he took my advice, and the stunt coordinator's going, yeah, just do what he says. So I did it. It was one take, of course. But I got to tell you, I have worked with the Spielbergs, and I've worked with every great director is. And him watching the playback, Clint Eastwood watching the playback of me doing a little tiny stunt is emblazoned in my mind. Do you know what I mean? What this guy has seen over a career is phenomenal. I was just watching something on the internet today where they asked Ray Liotta, who I've worked with quite a bit. I love Ray. He'll get you in a lot of trouble. He'll get you in a lot of trouble. But they asked him, who was the worst actor in the 80s and 90s? And he said Clint Eastwood. And he says, I don't care. I'm not afraid of anybody. No, listen, I have all the respect in the world for actors who also produce and direct. I worked with Mel Gibson on a movie where I played a part. And people have their opinion of Mel, but anybody who produces and directs and acts in a movie like Braveheart, how can you say anything about that? And I had worked with him on a movie with Sissy Spacek down in Birmingham, Alabama, years ago called The River. And when he showed up on set, it's just me and him that day. I forget the name of the director, but he directed 007's big freaking movies. And he cast me in this part. And so when Mel came onto the set, I said, hi, Mel, my name's Rick Avery, and we worked together years ago when we were both young and handsome. And he went, well, what the fuck happened to you? That's how our day was. It was such a delight working with a pro like Clint Eastwood, working with a pro like Mel Gibson. Those guys are just a joy. I coordinated for people like Ron Howard. These people are joys and rarities in the business. The Chris Nolan's, just amazing people to be blessed to be around. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it'd be great to chat to those. Let's see. Oh, talking of legends, Ironweed with Jack Nicholson and Meryl Streep. So
Alan Gibbs was the stunt coordinator. We filmed that, I think, upstate New York, someplace. Alan wanted me to play a part of a guy chasing a train in one of the scenes. Because Alan was Jack Nicholson's stuntman for years. Right. He saved his life in Chinatown when he was drowning in that scene in the water. And so ever since then, you don't step off a curb without Alan being there. So Alan tried to get me into this part, but Jack had a transient kind of friend of his that got the part instead. So he said, "Rick, I'm sorry, you're gonna just have to do this big fight, near the train." And so I was a little depressed about that, but he told one of our stunt guys to take that guy out on the free. He said, "This guy's going to tackle you in this scene," so that took him out of this scene. But I remember Jack on two specific occasions with Alan. Hector Babenko was the director of that movie, and directors have a tendency after you do a scene to say, "That was perfect. Let's do another one." Happens all the time. Happens all the time. "That was great. Let's do another one." And he said to Jack, "That was perfect. Let's do another one." And Jack said, "If it's perfect, print it. I'll be in the dressing room." And he left the seat. He left the set. Oh no, he said, "If it was perfect, print two of them. I'll be in my dressing room." And he left the set. Then the next time I saw Jack was when Alan passed away, and we were all at the funeral, and Jack showed up to give a speech, a memorial speech about Alan.
Oh, nice.
For some reason, someone was squealing their tires in the parking lot outside while Jack was talking, and he went, "Yep, there's Alan." So, yeah, Jack had a tendency that day we all cried and we all laughed. He's just a phenomenal character. To work with him, I got to choke him out, I think, in that movie. It was great, to be on the back of Jack Nicholson choking him. Cool.
There you go. Lovely. All right. Keep it light. Hot Shots Part 2.
Oh, yeah, Hot Shots Part 2. So Eddie Braun is a really good friend of mine. He doubles Charlie all the time. I forget who was the stunt coordinator on that show, but it was during the Watts riots. So I had to do a rappel that day. That's why I showed up. A rappel and then a fight. So we were dressed as cops, and we had to crawl up by a ladder and get up on the roof so we could rappel off the roof and then get into this fight. And I remember going to work that day and taking my gun and having it in the car with me, because that's how dangerous Los Angeles was that day.
Yeah.
It was burning. Los Angeles was burning down. And I remember getting on the roof, and as soon as I got up on the roof, getting yelled at by the PAs, "Get down, get down." Because as I looked over on the other side from where we were shooting, that's where the riot was. There was people and fires and fights and stuff, and they said, if they see you in the police uniform, they're going to shoot you. So I went, "Oh, crap." So we stayed down low until we had to do the scene. But yeah, that's what I remember about Hot Shots Part 2.
There you go. Yeah, because a lot of there's a few films you've done that have Alex Hyde White in. I don't know if you remember him, but you might not have had a scene. He was in the polo scene in Pretty Woman.
So my first movie I ever did was called Blowout, where I doubled John Travolta. So I doubled John for about 10 years. He got me in the business. Again, it's all in my book. Everybody, go buy it.
Books up.
It's
Links in there.
Yeah, there's 2 books. Yeah, so I had done this movie Blowout, and then a few years later, whatever year that came out, Pretty Woman, Blowout was 1980. I get a phone call, and I'm coordinating at this point. So I've gone a little ways in my career, and Blowout I was brand new. And the guy on the other end of the phone said, "Hi, is this Rick?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "My name's Roger Pugliese. I don't know if you remember me, but I was a PA on Blowout." And I went, "No, I don't remember you." Roger was a PA that wore a tie. If you look at production assistants on movie sets today, they look like they're homeless. I mean, they, for whatever reason, that's how they dress. But Freddie Caruso, who called me to do that job, told him, "Wear a tie to work every day, and maybe you'll get somewhere in this business." So he was a production assistant, his first movie in New York, and wore a tie every day. To this day, he doesn't wear a tie anymore, but he closes his collar. So he called me up and he said, "Hey, I'm a production manager now, and I don't know if you're available or not, but I'm doing a movie called Pretty Woman. Would you come out and be the stunt coordinator and maybe double Richard Gere?" And I went, "Yeah, sure. Why are you calling me?" And he went, "Because you were so nice to me on on that movie Blowout, and I just remembered that. And Roger did so much for my career. We're still in touch with each other. He introduced me to John Landis. Everybody. He introduced me to Howie Deutsch. Everybody I did a film with, I branched off and did other things with. So he is responsible for a lot of my coordinating career. I appreciate it very much from him.
Nice. Because was it you've done Spider-Man with Sam Raimi, and he wears a suit and tie, doesn't he, when he's directing?
Yeah, it's funny how a lot of directors wear the same clothes. Some wear all black. Chris Nolan wears the same clothes. I think he changes his vest, but it's pretty much the same clothes. I think it's just they make so many decisions in life. They don't want to make decisions about having their clothes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's funny. I showed up to do Spider-Man. I forget. I was dressed as a cop, and I think it was Phil Collada who had done the jerk off part of the gag, but he couldn't make it to work that day. So they put me in to be the face that did the dialogue with the goblin. So I had to say, hold there, hold it right there, whatever. But I had a stuntman do my gag for me that day. So that's what I did on Spider-Man.
Nice. I'll do a few more and then I'll let you go. So you've done a Terminator film.
What's that?
Terminator 3?
Yeah, I didn't do much in that. That was I think we were in some kind of control room with some explosions.
Oh yes.
That's what we did. All I remember is Arnold walking by, all of us stuntmen sitting down, and him saying, "All these stuntmen sitting here and not a stogie amongst you."
Bless him. We've got another question. What was it like working with Michael Dudikoff?
Great guy. Quiet. Yeah, it's funny. The movies, I think I worked on 2 or 3 movies with him as stuntman. So I did a little bit of fire gag work on a submarine, I think. I can't remember all the things, but they were varied stunts. American Ninja, I think I worked on with him. There was a few movies I worked with him.
Cool.
Because they had the same coordinator, so he kept calling me.
Makes sense.
I don't think I was the greatest stunt double for him, but I kept getting the call. So I doubled for John Travolta for 10 years, and I'm not near his height, and but
well, that was Nicolas Cage, and they seem to swap quite easily between the two.
Yeah, well, when John was younger and thinner, I was a great stunt double for him. I was shorter, but I just put lifts in my shoes, and that made the difference. But I was a cop, and he got me to quit my job as a cop to become a full-time stuntman. And the first movie I ever did was with him. So, and then he held on to me for 10 years.
That's nice. Yeah, because you did, was it 2 Look Who's Talking as well?
Look Who's Talking 1 and 2. I second directed, I think, Look Who's Talking 1 or 2. I forget which one. We did The Experts.
Experts, yes. I was going to say, because you did The Experts, and then you stunted in The Experts.
Yeah, we did Chains of Gold. I did everything. John had a hard time in his career. My career, when I started with him, took off like that. His career went like that. Complete opposite. To the point where he was going to become a commercial airline pilot. No one knew who he was for a short period of time. And then Pulp Fiction came out, and he came back in Pulp Fiction. He's been a giant star for the rest of his life. He's a great man. He's a good friend. I owe my whole career to him for getting me into the business. Yeah. I was actually called to do Pulp Fiction, but I couldn't make it because I was stunt coordinating Beverly Hills Cop 3. So I did get a chance when I was doubling Robert De Niro on Killing Season, and there was only 2 actors through that whole movie. It was John and Bob. So I had my 2 actors doing my dialogue for me. It was great.
And you did all the heavy lifting.
I did. It was great. We worked in Atlanta, I think, and in Bulgaria. Yeah, that's fun.
Nice.
Yeah.
Because then you went into space with the Star Trek Insurrection.
Yeah, I stunt coordinated that. I did a fire gag, I think, on that as well. Uh, had my son do a high fall. My ex-wife did some ratchet jerk off work in that. Uh, what a great movie to work with. The cast was phenomenal. Made friends with the director and did clock stoppers with him
Clock
after that.
Stoppers, yeah.
Um, yeah, it was great experience. Great experience because Star Trek. I grew up with that when I was a kid back in the '60s, watching that, and you want to eventually have the opportunity to work on something like that you've watched for years. I actually had a part in another movie, Star Trek, where I was playing a part, but I had to turn it down because that job with Robert De Niro came up. So I made
Wow.
the decision to drop the Star Trek thing and double Robert, which was the right decision at the time.
It was.
Yeah.
Nice. Did you do an episode of the TV show Star Trek?
Yeah.
The Next Generation?
Next Generation. Yeah, I think I take a laser in the chest. It's on loan. I heard my reel somewhere. I don't know.
That's gonna hurt.
That was Danger. Madlone was. He's got that nickname Danger, and he's such a sweet stunt guy. Really a talented guy. Yeah, Danger Madlone hired me for that.
It's not his middle name then. Oh yeah, William Malone in a House on Haunted Hill. Remember that one?
No, I don't. I
Couldn't
get
be
it
none.
confused with House of a Thousand Corpses.
Yes, you've done that as well.
Yeah, and one of them I coordinated as a replacement coordinator for a week or something, and the other one I played the part in an insane asylum.
That's
Uh,
yeah.
yeah,
That's House on Haunted Hill.
yeah. So that was fun because I acted crazy. I mean, I was screaming and acting stupid. And really was fun to be an actor that day and let loose. Yeah, yeah. So that's what I did on that show.
Nice. And then another one of my favorites, Mr. Destiny, with
Yeah, we did that back in Raleigh, Durham, North Carolina, and oh yeah, there's a couple stories that go with that. First one was John Lovitz had to stand up on this rooftop, and I remember
yes.
going into the restroom with Monty Cox and John dropping his drawers and us putting a harness on and to safety him, and I'm going, what am I doing in this toilet area with John Lovitz? But we were brought out primarily to do a car jump. Eddie Dono, who was a legend. Uh, I'll come back to another story with Eddie Dono, but Eddie, he was an Italian stunt guy that could jump flat-footed up onto any bar and made a ton of money on bets and was extremely talented. And we were supposed to do this car jump. I was passenger, and he was the driver. And we're just supposed to drive lights and sirens down a hill, hit the ramp, off it goes into the air, we land, cut, that's it. But when we took off, I had taken a Fernie pad because I didn't have any pads on. I just stuck a Fernie pad partially on my lap and to the right side and on my knees just to protect from anything that came in. And when they said rolling, Eddie stepped on the gas, action, off we go, and something landed in my lap. And I looked down in my lap and it was a full set of false teeth. And I went, ooh! And I jumped and the false teeth fell on the floor. And he's approaching 50 miles an hour downhill to this jam. And don't let him fall. He's talking to me about his teeth. We finally hit the ramp, go in the air, we land, and then he says, pick up my teeth, pick up my teeth. Oh, he's saying it like this, pick up my teeth, because I always forget to put them in when everybody's clapping afterwards. He was such a sweet guy. I remember him buying me a bunch of shirts one day. We were on a show, and he found out I liked these particular type of shirts. And I went to my hotel room one day, and there's 3 shirts. He just bought it for me. just a kind heart. Brought me up to do a Western, Son of the Morning Star, where we did these big chases and saddle falls off of horses. And yeah, Eddie Donald. But I'll tell you a John Landis story in Blues Brothers, the first one.
Oh
Eddie
yeah.
has to be in a little school chair doing a stair fall.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, horrendous stunt. I mean, dangerous stunt too, because you could get hurt yourself doing that. I've done lots of stair falls, but being in a chair where you can find that's bad. Eddie did the stunt, and at the bottom he's upside down, and everybody's clapping, and John Landis walks over and he leans in. And he said, "That was great, Eddie. Can you do it again?" And Eddie said, "Go fuck yourself." But that, some people don't say that. When they come over and they ask you to do it again, you say, "Yeah, we'll do it again." And they
There's a limit.
out of us for doing that, but Eddie said, "No, go fuck yourself." Great. When he passed away, we had a wake at his house, and he didn't want any sadness. He said, "I just want jokes to be told about me." And his wife was there, and they had Italian dinners, and it was phenomenal. Yeah, phenomenal man.
That's because Rusty's is it Russell's here? He's just saying hello. He's got a deep respect for stuntmen after he saw Burt Reynolds and Hal Needham's Hooper.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of that is, it's not far from the truth, that movie. A lot of it's not far from the truth. He talks about taking a painkiller or something after a stunt.
Yeah.
When I did this movie I just mentioned, Son of the Morning Star, we were shooting in Montana. It's about the 7th Cavalry and Custer's Last Stand, and we had thousands of reenactors riding horses and us doing all kinds of horse work. And I remember the Wrangler went over to Eddie and said, "Why'd you hire this Rick Avery guy? He can't ride a stitch." And the first day I was there, they had me lead the charge with Custer and Billy Burton Jr. Across the plains. And I didn't hold well with that. And then a few days later, we were doing this mass scene with the Indians and the cavalry, and people were doing saddle falls and horse falls. And Clifford Happy was next to me, and he was doing a rear up with his horse. And I did a saddle fall, falling off my horse, and then his horse came down on me. And the horse, because it was on a slight slant, was trying to get away from me, but it was doing a dance on my body. And I remember I was wearing these Cooper pads that hockey players wear. And I remember saying, that side's getting a little sore. I better turn over and give him the other side. So I rolled over on the other side. My son had come to the set that day to watch it. And when they yelled cut, the paramedics rushed up the hill. They had a stretcher for me. They thought I was dead. And my son looked at Monty Cox and he said, "Who is that?" And he said, "That's your dad."
Oh, shit.
So later that afternoon, the Wrangler came up on his horse, and I was sitting with the other cowboys. And he said, "Rick, I'm really impressed with your riding today, and you can ride on any one of my pictures." And he said that's one of my son. So
Nice.
that carried around, Rudy Yudlin was his name. And that meant a lot to me. But when I got in the bus, I'm going to get to the Hooper thing in a minute. When I got on the bus, we had to take a bus ride home to the hotel every day. It took about an hour, and my son was with me. And so when we got to the hotel, everybody was getting off the bus, and he said, "Come on, Dad, let's go." And I went, "No, just sit here for a second." He said, "Well, why?" I said, "I can't move." And I had been bragging all day to the cowboys. This stuff, after that wreck with the horse dancing on me, this is kid shit. Bring a car on. Hit me with a car. You guys kept saying how hard this stuff is. And I was, everybody's getting a laugh out of it, but I couldn't stand up. So my son had to help me to the hotel room, and I had to take a Percodan that night because I had 5 saddle falls to do the next day. So when Hooper says he had to take a pain pill, yeah, occasionally you have to do something like that to work.
Oh.
And I told the cowboys in my book, any of you cowboys that are reading this,
Now the truth out.
Yeah, the truth came out.
Oh yes, John Carpenter's Escape from L.A. with Kurt Russell.
Yeah, that was Jeff Amata.
Nice.
Oh, I think that's the one that I did a surprise car wreck because there was a car being towed, the tow truck towing a car, and Jeff was the kind of stunt coordinator that he hired you for your talent and he expected you to be able to just do it. He would give, with the exception of a fight, he would give minimal instruction to how to do it. So he said, Rick, I want you coming down this hill and I want you to hit this car. I said, well, if I hit that car, it's being towed by a tow truck. It's probably going to flip the car and I don't know what it's going to do to me. And he just walked away from me like, okay, whatever. And I said, okay, well, and action came really quick and I did it. And it did exactly what I thought it would. It turned over that car and it was a big wreck and everything. But I think that's what we did on Escape from LA. Oh.
Let's see. Oh yeah, Scream 3.
Scream 3 was I was second unit director on that, and I hired my son Brian, who's a very successful stuntman, stunt coordinator, and second unit director. I said to him the other day, I was working for him, and I said, "How long have you been doing this for?" And Dad, I've been doing this 30 years. I went, "Oh my God, that long? I thought you've only been doing it 10." So he was Ghostface. All of the stunts and everything is a stunt man. I mean, in different movies, it's been different Ghostface. I think Alan Watson did it once. Dane Farwell do it once. But I had my son. Anytime I got a job and I was coordinating, I put my family first. They were talented. So nepotism be damned. You know, if they weren't talented, I wouldn't do it. But I would always tell production, if my family fits, they're going to put the first slots they're filling. I'm just letting you know. So I put Brian in that Scream 3 outfit, and he did the Ghostface for that whole movie. So he's
nice.
For that. He gets fan mail all the time. I remember sending, you know, when you're doing a second unit, you have hair and makeup coming over and checking you at nighttime, especially for the stupidest things because nobody sees anything in the car at night unless it's specifically lit. Yeah. And I remember going over to the hair and makeup people and saying, "You guys can go home tonight. I'm not going to need you." And they went, "What do you mean go home?" I went, "Yeah, go home. You're going to get paid, and I'm not going to use you." And you can't do that. I said, "Yes, I can. I'm directing, so go enjoy." So I go home.
Yeah. A disaster film, Independence Day.
Just, I tell you what, I don't have a story about me. It was just us driving police cars on that.
Okay.
But the story, I do remember that it was a giant scene where all the traffic is backed up. There's tons of police cars with the bubble gum thing. Their lights are going. And it took a long time to set up the shot. They finally said action. Then they yelled cut. And the director was pissed off because it took a long time. Helicopters, everything was involved. And somebody had forgot to turn their lights on in the police car. And it pissed him off. And he took the stunt coordinator and said, "Come with me. We're going to find out who that was." Well, it was Alan Olney. And Alan Olney is a veteran stuntman. He doubled Morgan Freeman for years and years and years. As a matter of fact, I just saw him at G.D. Epper's funeral. And he had, if it was me, they would have come up and I would have gone, "Oh shit, I'm really sorry," you know, and bowed my head. Alan saw them coming and looked up and said, "Oh shit, it's me." And he pulled all the wires out from under his dash. So that way, when they came over to the car and he said, "No, my lights are on." And then they opened the car and look at it and the wire was missing. So he covered himself. I wouldn't have thought about that quick enough.
That's nice. So yeah, you've worked on a lot of other action stars, Lorenzo Lamas, Night of the Warrior, and Renegade.
Lorenzo's a very, very, still to this day, a very close friend of mine. I love the man. He could have been a stuntman himself.
Okay.
That's how much talent he has. He's a martial artist. Um, I've worked on before those. It was a soap opera that I worked on with him for a night, and he was doing a fight, and I offered my pads to him, and he refused them, as a lot of actors do. Their egos won't let them put elbow pads on.
Right.
And he came over to me after the first take with his elbows bleeding and wanted my pads, and I wouldn't give them to him. And we were friends. We were friends ever since. So I did the second unit directing and stunt coordinating for the first episode of Renegade, because it was down in San Diego and they wanted to use the local stunt guy they use all the time. I forget what his name is. So I only did the first episode. But on Night of the Warrior, I had to coordinate all the fights, shoot the fights, second unit director on that as well. And the longest day I've ever had on a movie was 18 hours. And it was shooting that fight with Lorenzo. And it was in the wet, on concrete. He would take the falls himself. He had no stunt double. He is a phenomenal man. And never a peep out of him. I love that guy to death. Yeah, still good friends. He became a helicopter pilot, and actually worked. I was a chief pilot at a helicopter company, the oldest helicopter company in the U.S., National Helicopters. So during my career as a stuntman, I latched on to my already private pilot airplane and became a helicopter pilot. And that went into being a news helicopter pilot, into a firefighting helicopter pilot, eventually into production, doing movie camera work. And then I became chief pilot at this particular company, and Lorenzo came and worked for me as a pilot. And then he worked as a helicopter pilot down at Long Beach, flying people back and forth to Catalina Island. So yeah, he's a phenomenal pilot and a phenomenal person. I can't say enough good stuff about that guy.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Because how do you rate Tom Cruise? Because everyone says, oh, he does his own stunts and all this.
Well, I've never worked on a Tom Cruise movie. He's one of the few actors I've never worked
No,
on.
I've noticed. Yeah.
So everything I know is hearsay.
Right.
Let's put it this way. Harrison Ford was on The Tonight Show, or one of those talk shows, one night, and they asked him after doing Indiana Jones, "We hear you do all your own stunts." And Harrison Ford said, "No, I don't. I have a stuntman that does my stunts. I'm what's known as a physical actor." And he had all the respect in the world from me after that. He actually works on a show with my son, and my son loves him. Whereas Tom Cruise would brag about stunts in his earlier part of his career, and he had a stunt double.
Yeah.
I mean, what's that stunt double doing there if he's not doing your stunts? That's because before he became a producer and could demand that he could do his own stunts.
Right.
Since then, I've changed my opinion of the man, because the stuff he's doing nowadays is pretty incredible. I mean, he's a great pilot. He's a helicopter pilot as well. He has a P-51 that he flies. There's stuff online with him hanging off planes and doing all kinds of skydiving. Listen, he's an action guy. If production wants to let him do his gags, I'm sure he still has a stunt double that does the mediocre stuff that hit in the ground. You know, he's not going to do that because he has to be at work the next day, and he knows it. But you know, all kudos to that guy. He's actually, you know, he's one of the guys that puts up, you know, when things need to be done. So good for him.
Cool. Have you ever met Vic Armstrong, the British guy?
I met Vic, not working. I know Andy pretty well. Yeah, I've never worked different circles. Never worked with
Yeah. Yeah, because he did Harrison in
Yeah, exactly.
Man.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Right, I got one more film for me, and I'll take one more question from the group, and I'll let you go. Thanks. So yes, Oscar, with John Landis directing and Stallone acting.
So Oscar was a movie that didn't go anywhere. I remember I was doing 3 shows at the time. I was coordinating a show in Florida with Travolta, Stallone here in Hollywood, and another one somewhere else in the U.S. And I was flying in the sets back and forth. So Oscar, I just had a little work to do with Stallone, and I didn't really like him at the time because whenever I talked to him, he would look past me.
Ah.
He's kind of the alpha male of the set when he comes on the set, but then I got a call in 2013 to double Bob again in a movie called Grudge Match.
Grudge Match, of course.
Where I had to do a fight with Sly, and it was he's a consummate professional. This guy, again, he's a writer. He's a really good writer. He's talented at everything he does. He walked Bob through the fights in that movie because he knows camera angles so well. And of course, Bob, who's very humble. I mean, he did Raging Bull. He doesn't need all that info, but he was very humble and they worked great together. And the thing I remember is a chance to change your opinion of people. When we had the rap party, Sly came to the rap party and I had a half-hour talk with him. He's just a regular guy, very, very intelligent. And for me, working on Grudge Match, Oscar, I didn't have that much to do with him, but on Grudge Match, it was a joy working with him. So yeah, I like him very much, and I'm glad to see his career is still going, and you know he's playing the parts. And he was online the other day showing all the rewrites he's still doing on scripts. So the writer in him is not left.
Yeah, because people always say the same, like his ego for stuff like Cobra, and he was just.
I think those were you know what? Those were the early days. Mm-hmm. He you know that gets to people, and I guess it depends also. What are you doing with the actor that particular day? I've worked with actors on bad days, and you form bad opinions with them, or directors that you know, James Cameron, a perfect example. I had a terrible opinion of him, but when he's off the set, he's a great guy. It's just it just depends on the experiences that you have with these personalities, you know, and this type of business, the personalities can be extreme, and understandably so, depending on the circumstances you're shooting under.
Okay, cool. I just noticed one more thing as well. You did some work for Cracker in 1995, the Robbie Coltrane TV show.
What was it?
Cracker with Robbie Coltrane.
I don't even remember it.
No, it's a British show, and I was wondering why it was in the
Cracker.
Yeah.
I know. I don't remember working that, but somebody asked me the other day on a show like yours about something on IMDb. So there's a couple things in there, or 2 or 3 or something.
Yeah, that's why I like to find out if they are or not.
Yeah, that I didn't work on, that somebody else put in, or glitched.
Yeah, because anyone can edit these, can't they?
Wait a minute. No, I did work on Cracker.
Oh,
but I don't. No, I did work on that. I don't remember. And maybe they used footage, because I know Saturday Night Live. I have credit in, but I didn't work on the show. My son used to tape it, and he said, "Hey, Dad, I saw you on Saturday Night Live last night." I went, "No, you didn't." And he said, "Yes, I did. Your full burn that you did on Innocent Blood, it's on." And I went, "Son, they all look the same. The full burns, they all look. It's not me." So he showed it to me because he taped them. Back then it was VHS tape, and he taped them. And so I looked at it and went, "Holy crap, that is me." So I called SAG, and they made a complaint. And when asked why they put it, they said, "Well, we put it in there as a joke at the last minute, so we didn't seek anybody's okay." And they tried to sneak it under the rug. So they sent me a contract, and I've been getting residuals for it ever since. So Cracker might be the same thing. Maybe they used footage.
It could be, yeah. It could be a clip of a film you've been in.
Yeah, I just saw some footage from Look Who's Talking on a thing about spaceships on television, which had no place being there. Me driving the taxi through spot, I don't know. So who knows?
Okay. I got one last thing before you go. Buckaroo Banzai.
So I talked about my piloting.
Right.
I had just got my pilot's license a few years before. There was a guy named Mike DeLuna who used to jump on the Golden Light Knights parachute team, and he became a stuntman. And he said, "I'm doing a movie called Buckaroo Banzai, and we don't have a permit." I was living in Santa Barbara at the time, and he said, "If you fly an airplane down, pick me up, and then drop me off, just kick me out of the plane by Torrance Airport, and they're going to film it." And I went, "Okay." I didn't know better. It was. I listened. I was looking for contracts. It's probably way early in my career, if you look at it, I guess. But I was just looking for, and I didn't have any knowledge about. Now I have a movie manual. You have to have a movie manual to do stunts in an aircraft on a movie, and I have a movie manual now. But I didn't even have a commercial license to be paid to do it. It was totally illegal. FAA will probably call me tomorrow. But I flew down there in a little 152 airplane with a little two-seater. Never flown into LA before, and picked Mike up, and we dropped him out. I remember him guiding me towards a spot, and him saying, "Okay, put in a little," maybe it was left rudder or right rudder. I put in the rudder, and then he was gone, and it scared the crap out of me. I mean, he just left the airplane.
I bet.
I've done 5 jumps out of airplanes myself, so I know what that's about. But being the pilot and having somebody leave, it's kind of weird. So that's what I did. I was a pilot on Buckaroo Banzai who dropped the guy in with the parachute.
Cool. So yes, I wrap this up and let you go.
Okay.
I've got there's the link to the book in the chat again, just in case someone.
Yeah, buy the books. The books.
Buy the books.
Yeah, it's
buy lots of them. Multiple copies.
Hold on.
Ah, there we go.
A Life at Risk.
There it is.
You can get it on Amazon. And Too Old to Tell Lies. That's this one here.
Ah, there you go. Nice.
There's me doing the terrifying high fall that I was scared to death to do. But yeah, you can get those, and if you like, you can. If your people want to contact me, go to rickavery.net, and I'll inscribe it sign it for them, and I'll mail it off to them.
That's very kind of you. So that's cool.
Okay.
So nice. Yes, thanks for Rick for doing this. It's been wonderful.
Cheers. My pleasure. It's a lot of fun telling stories.
Yeah, well, we've still got about 500 more things we can go through. I'll thank Rick, and then I'll say goodnight to everyone because it's getting close to midnight. So, it's 11 o'clock. It's bedtime. All right. Thanks for everyone.
All right.
And take care, Rick.